Welcome back, everybody. I didn't think I was going to be making this video, but here we are. So, we spent quite a while last year evaluating a bunch of Rust GUI libraries, and we eventually settled on Cushy after evaluating Iced and Freya and Vizier and a bunch of other ones because it just seemed like a better fit. However, there was one big red flag which I wasn't so keen on when I picked it, and I mentioned this in the last video on this series. And that was the size of the community. Let's go to the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet. Oh, here we go again. This spreadsheet. Right. This is what we were looking at when we were evaluating some of these GUI frameworks. And with Rust, most of the GUI frameworks are experimental. So given that they're all experimental, then it doesn't really matter if you pick an experimental one because they're all experimental, right? So I didn't think the fact that it was experimental was going to be much of an issue until yesterday. What happened yesterday was the author of Cushy has become somewhat overloaded, I think, with the amount of requests and work and pull requests and issues and so on that I've been creating in the last, month or so, couple of months since starting to use Cushy in my project. Because there's been various questions and problems that I've been running into and so on, and so I ask the questions in Discord, and then I create pull requests and ask the author if this could be improved, and it's been very receptive. But it's got to a point where I believe he's getting a little bit frustrated with the amount of work that I'm generating for him, and he wants to get back onto doing his own things and do programming for fun. And he pointed me at the project status page for Cushy, which says this project is in early development, and the primary focus is for Egton to use in his own project. Feature requests and bug fixes will be prioritised based on his own needs, which is fair enough. It did worry me a little bit when I initially saw that, but after trying a load of the other ones. I'm like, well, let's see what happens. And we found out. So, for an example, this is the pull requests for Cushy at the moment, and they're basically all mine. Yeah. And if you look at the recently closed commits, most of the issues and so on have been things related to stuff that I've been working on. So I can fully understand the author's position. You've got to do what you've got to do, and you've got to do what you like doing. Yeah. So where does that leave us? That's the question. So I've been using Cushy to try and progress the project, and we've had some success in doing this. Let's just run it and show you where we got to with this. We've got internationalization support, which wasn't there when we first started using Cushy, which is great. We've got tabs, we can open documents, and we can do things with UI. We've got forms with validation and all this kind of stuff, and it was going pretty well. There were things that were a problem, like the lack of various widgets, like a drop-down / pop-up / combo box, whatever you want to call it. Lack of tree views, lack of data grids and things like this. And some of these things were starting to weigh on my mind a little bit, especially after using Cushy for a while and knowing that creating a widget is time-consuming by itself. So ideally, you want to use a GUI library that's got a bunch of widgets already created for you. And we were looking for these. But yeah, we didn't find it. We didn't find one. So we ended up using Cushy, and this is where we are. things were going all right. So we may continue using Cushy, but after yesterday, it's looking less likely. So, yeah, that's where we got to. So, what we're going to look at is basically rewriting the UI using EGUI. But before we get to that, we need to evaluate EGUI. And we're going to follow the same process of evaluating other GUIs that we had before, which was to create the tabbed document example. Yeah. So let's update the spreadsheet, I suppose. I'll fill in some more of this a little bit later. But let's have a quick look at EGUI to start with. Where is the other tab? Okay, EGUI. And apparently you do say EGUI as opposed to EGUI, because it says so here. Yeah. So, let's just put a link to that in the spreadsheet. Away we go. Let's have a quick look at the example. Let's have a quick look at the description of it before we dive into the example, actually. I've noted on other projects and crates and so on that it's nice to have a good description of what the actual project or crate is and does. And EGUI has that, and it's got nice examples. It points you at the documentation. It's got various different quick start things. So all this looks pretty good. Contributors 473, which contrasts starkly with Cushy. Let's just clear all those. There we go. So one of the problems we had with Cushy, the red flag, was the tiny community. So a lot of people are using EGUI. So this is good. It's got a Discord server that seems to be pretty active. The link to that is in the video description. Let's check the license. MIT and Apache. Okay, we're good. The focus. It seems to be sort of more native apps. Native/web. After looking at it. And if you use eFrame, then it uses W in it. Active, but is it experimental? I mean, it's 0.3 or whatever. Project state, active development, but it's used a lot, so it's more stable than some of the other ones. So let's write less experimental than others. Let's just see if we can answer some of these questions as well. I looked into whether it supports multiple windows. It does. It definitely has image support. It's got an alternative to Markdown, which is like E something or other they called it. Where is it? Markdown. There is something that looks like Markdown basically. It's like Markdown but better. Yes, it does have clipboard support. No, it doesn't have localization built in, but there is a second crate which I had a quick look at this morning, and that uses Fluent, and that does appear to work with the latest version of EGUI, which was released only 2 days ago, which is 0.31 at the time of this video. It's not built in, and the author of EGUI wants to remove all the strings from EGUI, and there's been concerted effort to do that. So it's essentially i18 friendly. So we're going to try that and see how far we get with that. There's no visual editor for it. It does have a responsive layout. The keyboard navigation is a bit... Yeah, you'll see in a minute. Yes, not a bit funky. Whereas in Cushy it was very good. I'll make a note of that. Keyboard control, I'm going to get to that. I'm pretty sure that there is some sort of keyboard support. I need to check it though. Don't know how events and things like that works. Let's have a quick look at the components and widgets. There are buttons. I downloaded the source and ran it. And where is it? Yeah, here it is. This is the little demo app. And this is running natively. Something to note is how quickly it resizes. There's no sort of like black border and so on while you're resizing, which is interesting. So it's quite responsive. There's this widget gallery, so let's have a quick look at this. So things to note is it's got buttons, yes. Has it got menus? There's context menus. Right, so it's got menus. I noted that, so we're going to say yes and yes. There are labels indeed. There are sliders. There are radio buttons. The radio buttons seem to be pretty good. Oops. I'm going to not click those again. Yeah, there's radio buttons. There they are. Not that. Ay, ay, ay. What do we need now? Radio buttons. This is what we're looking for. Drop down, pop up, combo box. Yeah, what's it called? So a drop down / pop up to me is one that doesn't have a text entry, and a combo box is one that allows you to type into it to choose things from that are in the list, and also add new items and so on. So it has this combo box, but it doesn't allow any typing. And I'll show you what I mean about the keyboard support being a bit funky. So if I click this and just leave that there and try and press tab, you see, and then I press shift tab, you see it's kind of like, and then here we go, it's going to get even weirder now. There it is. So when I initially bring up the combo box and then press tab, the focus isn't in the drop down part of the combo box, which I expected it to be. But there is sort of a way of letting you choose it, and I'm pressing space to select things and tab to go through the list. Pressing up and down doesn't do what I expect in that. So the combo box keyboard support is a bit funky. It could be improved. But maybe it'll be improved in time. I don't know, we'll have to see. So it's got support for that. Yes. Typing to search. Let's have a quick look. So if I press F, it doesn't have any support for typing to search. No. I don't know why it's called a combo box. I need to look into that a little bit more. Lists and tables. Now this is one thing that I was really missing in Cushy and wasn't looking forward to having to deal with writing it myself. Where we wanted to use that, where I was going to need to use that, I'll show you in the app that we've got so far. So if I open the project that I was looking at, and if you remember this from a while back ago. We got it displaying the list of placements, but I wanted this in a grid where you can click on things and look at them, edit them, and so on. So I wanted a table for this, but there isn't one in Cushy, and I didn't really fancy writing one either. So yeah, tables. There is some tables somewhere. Tables. Yeah, here we are. And EGUI has this concept of like windows as well, which is probably going to be quite useful. Quite how we're going to change how we create the GUI for the app, I don't know at this point in time. But what I wanted was some sort of like docking floating windows system to allow you to pull panels around and so on. So it's got that as well, which is good. Anyway, so let's look at the tables window. And it's got resizable columns, which is good. Apparently you can sort things. I don't know whether it's got multiple column sort or things like that, but one is better than none. So we'll go with that. Yeah. Different heights. They've got stuff in them. I'm not sure what you can put in the in these cells, as it were. Yeah. So it's got tables, which is good. Let's go back to the list. Tables. Yes. Sorting, yes. Multi-column, yes. Tree view and column list, I haven't seen one yet. Tabs. What we wanted was a GUI that lets you have tabs, like a web browser has tabs, you know, tabs. These things, right? Yeah, I'm not sure about this. I don't want to implement a tab bar. In the demo app, there's this thing at the top, which kind of looks like tabs. And I had a quick look at the source for it, and it was called like an anchor or something. So we're going to have to dive into this a little bit more, but at some level there seems to be some concept of tabs. Whether it's dynamic and you can add things to it at runtime or whatever is another matter entirely. But in lieu of tabs, I suppose we can open multiple windows, but then you need some way of being able to switch between the multiple windows. Yeah, don't know about that. Not sure. Toolbars. I haven't seen any toolbars yet, but there's buttons. So a toolbar is normally just a group with buttons in it. There's tooltips, which is good if you want those on your toolbar. But let's mention toolbars. So it doesn't look like there's support for that, but I don't know, maybe there's a crate for it. Things are resizable, yes. Tree view, yes. I implemented a tree view in Cushy. It wasn't fun. Misc demos, I found it. Look, there's a tree. There's a tree. And look, it's dynamic and you can add things to it. So that's a big yay for me. Splitter with a handle. Splitter with a handle. I did find this somewhere. I found it somewhere. Wasn't that one? Where was it? Panels. I think it was this. Look, there's a splitter. You can resize the panels. Not sure about that vertical one. Yep. This is good. Yes. So yeah, so it ticked quite a lot of the things that were on my wish list. However, for a minute, let's go back to the GUI library requirements that we wrote down a while back ago. We wrote down that the requirements for the library doesn't suck, looks nice, has a decent widget library, resizable windows, flexible layout, easy to use, permissive license, maintain, active user base, needs to be able to integrate with other rendering things, which it definitely can do. Good code base, not looked at the code base yet. No web technologies, doesn't have any, which is good, and not using legacy technologies. And so far, apart from one of those things that we've not looked at, it seems to fit the bill. So why didn't we look at it before? Because we were looking primarily at the reactive GUI frameworks, and EGUI is a immediate mode framework. And all the kids these days, they're like, oh yeah, reactive stuff, it's better, blah, 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 blah. So we went down the path of doing reactive frameworks, and I learned a bunch of things on the way. Mostly that it's quite a headache to deal with any kind of reactive GUI frameworks. Maybe they're more powerful. The README for EGUI says they are. So then why would you pick one that wasn't reactive? I don't know. You know, the other ones are more powerful. Surely you want the most powerful one. So initially, we wrote down our GUI library selections that we were going through. For EGUI, we wrote no, bad fit, maybe check again if the others suck. And that is the position we're in today. So here we go. So let's take this and put it up here. TBD. Let's see. Let's see. So, right. If you will remember from the previous series, to evaluate the GUIs, we were trying to create our tab document UI test case. The initial cut for the requirements was documented here. The latest version of this document is in the Cushy branch for this. So let's just switch over to that now. Which should be here. Yeah. And we're gonna grab this and start doing it without further ado. Okay, so how do we want to start? That's the question. Should we start by using the quick start EGUI template, or should we create an example within the EGUI codebase? With other GUI frameworks, I've created a new branch in that framework and then added it as an example there. But I think in today's case, we're going to try and use the template and see where we get. What template am I talking about? Let me show you all. Those are the tabs. Get rid of this. README. I'm looking for the README. There he is. In the quick start bit, it talks about using this template. So we're going to clone this and poke it around. Righto, let's do that. Yeah. So let's find that. I've got to find it. this one, this one, this thing. So we're going to try and use this. Oops. I copied the wrong URL there. Hold on. That URL is the one we want, the Git one. So we're going to clone that. But we're going to clone it into a different directory. So EGUI tabbed document UI demo, I suppose. Example. All the other ones have been called example, so let's just go with example. Clone. And apparently there's a script you can run inside here. So let's first open that up in an IDE. Refresh, there we go. I totally trust everything. Right, apparently there's this script you can run. Quite how well this is going to run on my device, I don't know. But let's find out. So /fill template. What's it going to be called? Tabbed. Should it be underscores or dashes? It should be underscores, I think. Tabbed document UI example, I suppose. Okay, so it's done stuff. And there should be some changes, right? So I suppose we can see what it did. It's got all that. That's a lot of code. JS, JavaScript. I suppose this is if you want to run it from the web, which I don't, but I'm going to leave that there for now. I suppose update project using this. We'll do a commit for that. Right. But probably I should have created, I don't know, is this the right thing for the branch? Yeah, we'll go with it. Okay. All right, now what? I suppose we should carry on reading this example thing. So this is basically where we've got to, this getting started. Alternatively, you can use this. And yeah. We should probably just delete this README file or replace the content with something else. Let's do that. I suppose we want like this, and then I'll fill this in after the stream what it is we're trying to do. But what we're really interested in is the requirements. Which we've got in the Cushy one. So we'll grab all this. I updated my IDE just before the stream, which was probably a bad idea, and it's been a bit funky. But I updated it because I was running into a bug, which is fixed in the new version of the IDE. Okay, so let's delete some of these things. Where we had issues. And then I'll run through it. Oh no. Okay, so this is what we're trying to do. Oh, I missed one. Let's have a look at that again. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to create a tab document user interface. Actually, let's just run the Cushy one as well to show you what we got with, just so you can see where we're trying to get to with this. Tab document UI. And then it'll just make going through the requirements a little bit quicker if you can see what we achieved in the Cushy version of it. Come on, build. This is what we achieved in Cushy. So the idea is that you've got a home tab, and you can open and look at images. You can click on the images and it shows you like a coordinate that you clicked on. You can have a list of properties which shows you the information about the file that you've loaded up. You can have a text file. Ideally this should be a multi-line and it should be editable, and alas, in Cushy the multi-line thing is a bit broken, but it's a limitation. It's supposed to retain the state when you switch tabs from one to the other, and indeed that does happen here. You can see the text selection is retained. In other frameworks that is either impossible, doesn't work, or you have to go jump through many hoops in order to do it. But with Cushy, doing that thing was fairly painless, which was good. We also have like a toolbar with forms, and we want internationalization where we can change things at runtime without having to restart the app. If we have to restart the app, it's okay, but ideally it's better if you don't have to restart the app. We need forms with validation. We should be able to create new images or text files. Test 1, for instance. Choose a directory. We need file selectors like this, where you can select a folder, and then you can create a text file, and you can go new, and you go test 2, pick a directory, and go, I want to create an image file, and it creates an image file. All right, that's all we were trying to do. And oh yeah, and there's one of the other things which was important was when you close the app and then you run the app, it remembers the list of files that you had open and opens them again, and also remembers this state that was on here. So home tab, show on startup. So if we close that and then run it again, we don't have the home tab displayed, and now we click it and it's not ticked, so it needs to retain state. And we'll make sure that that still works, which I'm sure it does at this point. Yeah, so we've got the home tab, show on startup. So that's what we're trying to do, and now we're going to try and do the same thing in EGUI. And we're going to see how far we get. Yeah, all right. Let's go. This is going to be interesting. So, all right, let's see what we've got here. Okay. Let's commit that. Off we go. Never looked at an EGUI app as yet. So part of this evaluation is going to be sort of going in blind and then trying to find out the answers to the questions as those questions arise. Such as, where's the documentation? Is it any good? Can we find the solutions to the problems? How do we create a window? How do we create a button? All this kind of stuff, right? And I haven't looked at any of this as yet. So I guess we need to learn about the structure of an EGUI app. So let's open up the main. Yeah, before we even get into that, let's look at the cargo file. Okay, so what do we got? It's got, okay, we don't necessarily need that one. I'm not using Linux, so we might have to poke that. Okay. And we need to see what else there is as well. So this is slightly out of date. So we poke that. So it's got EGUI, eFrame, and log as dependencies. I like putting in the patch level of the version of whatever it is that you started with, just so that anyone looking at the code knows that you weren't using anything earlier than that. Cargo will bump this up to the latest one anyway, but that's just my personal preference there. So there's some stuff to do with native and web targets. Okay, there's some sensible defaults on there, such as the optimization levels. So that all seems fine. Okay, let's go cargo update as well. Just so that we're on the latest version of everything. And let's look for the main app and see what happens when we try and run it. Let's see. Hopefully it runs. Yeah. The amount of dependencies for the example app is something I want to look at some point. Compile time, yeah, we'll find out in due course. So I think all the EGUI apps sort of have this thing at the top. I don't know what they call it. Oh, it's bringing up that. it's opening things in the wrong browser when I click stuff. Let me just open a new window here so that hopefully it uses this one. Yeah, okay. Rather than showing my other browser. Right. Because I use Firefox with 2 profiles. I've got one profile for the MakerPnP stuff, and then there's the other profile, and it's opening up the wrong one. If anyone knows any tools in Windows to say that when you click on any link, it prompts you which Firefox profile to use before it actually opens the link, please let me know. Quick Flash, hi. Thanks for joining the stream here. Any complaints? No, not yet. I've only just started. Thing at the top of EGUI, but it's easy to remove if you want. I don't know whether I want to remove it or not yet. It's like a system bar. I probably don't want to remove it. I'd have like the language selector in it and have a menu bar in it. Yeah, that's useful too. Why? Oh, I see. That's right. Kind of curious as to how this works. Okay, so let's look at the code. So it uses nvlogger, which we were using before. If I go back to the Cushy one and go from a source for that. Right, Cushy main is handling that logging, log, tracing. Yeah, okay. I'm just trying to refresh my memory as well. So I don't think we used nvlogger in the tab document UI in Cushy, but we used tracing in the main app. So this is very similar, so that's fine. Builds the window with a minimum size, and you specify the inner size of the windows, fine. And then you've got an icon 256 PNG, yeah, fine. And then it says it's going to run it. So let's rename this. Okay. Just little commits as we go. And then it says it uses run native. Wait, and then I guess for the web version you've got a main which does some other stuff. It uses web runner instead, but this bit is what I suppose we're looking for, which is very similar in both. Right. So we've got a template app thing. And I'm guessing that probably lives in here, but let's find out. It does indeed live in there. So this is the state for the app, I guess. And then I was about to ask why we might need to be able to serialize, deserialize it, but this is how it persists the state. So that's useful. And do we know about that? Yeah, fine. So it was calling new, right? So you get a context passed to you. Yeah, Serde. Serde is pretty standard for serialization, deserialization. That's what I was using previously as well, so that's good. Oh, I see. Okay, so you either get a default one which uses this, or you get the loaded state. Okay, that's interesting. So it's got some of that built in, which is quite nice. How does it store this state? Like, where does it store the state? I wonder. Like, let's just run that again. Are we still running it? No, that's the panels one. Let's run it again. So in my requirements, I say store the state in config.json, right? But EGUI is handling some of that for us, which is nice that we don't have to write that code again. But where's it storing it? So test 1, 2, 3. So if I close this and then open it, we expect it to say test 1, 2, 3, which it does, which is good. So somewhere it saved that. PDB? No. This is probably a debug file, but let's have a quick look. Just yeah, no, it's not that. Who knows where it stores the state? Where's it putting it? Yeah, but where? That's the question. Okay, so let's go back to this. And let's write some questions down. So we've got that. We can come back to that. I don't really need to know right now. Let's see if we can focus on some of the other stuff. So let's have a quick look. Save, so it saves it using the API key. Okay. Okay. Oh, I think that should be framework. Might have to do a PR for the template to fix that. Wait, let's not overload the EGUI people on the first day with PRs. We all know how that turned out. No. Right. So it creates this top panel, and then it creates a menu bar, which is fine. So we've got the file and quit, which is fine. And then it's got this. Well, it's interesting that they're using config rather than config if create for that. because it feels like you should just compile this out for web, but you know, maybe it compiles it out anyway because it happens at it knows the answer to this at compile time, so it might compile that out anyway. Theme preference buttons. Let's have a quick look at this. Theme preference radio buttons. Is there another option for that? Where does that live? See, I guess what we could do is add a drop-down box to make it a bit, you know, more space efficient. Should we try that just for fun? I kind of want to try it. Or shall we just focus on what we actually need to do? Let's focus on what we actually need to do. We'll come back to that another day. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering whether it was... Thanks, Quick Flash. I was wondering whether it was going to be stored in the user profile directory. And it says it is. So let's have a look. No. Typo, come on. So let's have a look. Do I have an app ID? Oh, there it is, look. Data. What is this? I've got a RON file. Wow, that's quite a lot. Many options. Kind of surprised that it stores so many options in there. Like, I would have expected to only store the options that were not the same as the defaults, but you know, there we are. Okay, that's interesting, I suppose. But yeah, here we can see the value of it. App. Okay, so this is the app. This is the app. So it's got label and value. Where's the value? Oh, I see, because this is skipped. Fine. That all seems fine. So there's that. Now, how does an EGUI app work? So we've got an update method which takes a mutable self, which means you can update the state, and it's given a context, and it's also given a frame, which probably refers to the window. But there's this concept of a frame and then a window within a frame. So really you've got windows within windows, so they've got to use some other terminology. So frame it is. Fine. OS frame. Side panel, top panel, central panel, window, or area. Okay. So what's it doing? So, yeah. Yeah. We're going to see how this pans out, but it's going to be interesting. Mixing state with creation of presentation. We'll find out. So we've got a top panel, and it's got a menu bar. And then what is this doing? Show. We've got a panel. Let's just have a look at the documentation for a panel. Look, there's documentation. This is good. Read it, see what happens. Oh, another typo. Go along and fix. Put your widgets. Always add an central panel last. Okay. We've got a side panel. Let's bring up the structure. This. Put that over here. Get rid of that. Central panel. So it creates a top panel and then it adds a central panel. And it says show and it passes the context. So that's how it knows to record the fact that you're creating a panel, because you've got the context. Right. So I'm trying to work out, this bit I guess must be the top panel. Let's just add a random label into this. Just so that we can understand it a little bit more by seeing what's what. Banana. Okay. Wait, hold on. I added that in the menu bar. Oops. Let's add it there and see what happens. I'm kind of curious. So now we've got this here. So this area up here is a top panel. And I guess this bit here is the central panel. Fine. Okay. So I suppose in that top bit, that's where we'd have our toolbar. Let's start creating a toolbar. Come on. Let's see how it goes. I want a box or a container to put buttons in. Let's refer to this and see what we can see that might be useful. Yeah. This is one of these things about these panels here. Look, I don't know. There's no visual clue that the widget gallery is open when something is in front of it. I mean, it's got this here, but there's no way to bring it to the top, or that you know about it. And that's why these windows feel a little bit funky to me, the way that they sort of currently work. They're like floating windows and you can put them on top of each other, and it's a bit weird. So you need some kind of like thing that tracks which ones are open, that allows you to select them, in my opinion. Like, I don't know, maybe there's like a little button that there should be like a little drop down thing which allows you to see all the windows that you've got open and then pick one. You know, a bit like you have in your IDE. You don't know how many IDE windows you've got open, but you go to the window menu and you can see them all. That kind of thing. It feels like there needs to be one of those for this, but anyway. So we're trying to find a container. Oh, there's a frame. Is it a frame? Let's have a look at this, the code for this frame. Fine. Yeah. So we've got a crate, demo app, source. Probably in here. There's various different mod. Oh no, that's cargo. Let's bring this. Frame. Oh, that appears quite a lot. Oh no. What else can we search for? I mean, it's frame with a capital F. Let's search for inner margin. On the right, it shows you all your windows, Quick Flash says. I suppose this is a list of windows, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, I suppose so. But there's no way. The problem I've got is that there's no way to get to this frame thing that's underneath here. If I click this, it doesn't do anything, yeah? And then if I click it again, it reopens it. What I want is a way of getting to it. That's what I found with this. Like, I guess if it's not active, clicking it should perhaps bring it to the front. Right, so where widget gallery is at the front, if I click this and it closes it, that's fine. But this one, if I click this, it closes it. I need a way of getting to it and selecting it. It could be better. Anyway. Inner margin is what we're searching for. Where's that? Detail this UI. kind of a little bit weirded out right now as to what I'm actually looking at here. I wasn't expecting to end up there when I searched for that. There is a thing which allows you to see the call stack of the bit of code that created created parts of the UI. You can have multiple top panels. Quick Flash says on the right it shows all your windows. There is a source code button. Yeah. Well, the example that I'm looking at, Quick Flash, is this. So I searched the entire EGUI project for the word inner margin, and that's what I found. So it seems that the EGUI core code base contains the strings that are displayed when I look at this. Frame demo. Yeah, let's see, it's got self.ui, you see. Or is it? Self.ui. Like, where'd all these things come from? That's what I was trying to work out. Frame demo. Where was that? A demo lib. Creates a window, creates a UI. The UI is created by creating a horizontal thing. Yeah. And then it adds a frame with a space. And then a reset button, which is this bit, and then there's a UI separator, which I guess is this thing. But where do all those buttons come from? Like this content? that's what I was trying to find. But self.frame is an EGUI frame, and apparently on the EGUI frame there's probably a UI method. Or a style method or something, because we found it somewhere. kind of curious. Feels like it might be this bit. So these bits seem to be built into the components or widgets or whatever they are, because it's using this style thing, which is why I ended up looking at this. Let's just see. If that matches up with this. So we've got inner margin, outer margin, corner radius, shadow, fill, strokes. So somehow this bit of code gets called. Implement widget for frame. So this UI method is called by something. I don't know. Let's put a breakpoint on it and rerun it. Just so that we can have a look, see how it gets there. So the frame demo code, yeah, it was this bit of code that I was looking at. And then it goes widget UI self. So it passes itself in and says, add all these elements from this. And this has got a widget, and then there's implementations for that for this one. Yeah, that's how it gets there. Okay, interesting. Fine. We're trying to create a frame still. So I'm kind of weirded out to see those methods like inside the core of the widget code. But there we go. It's like configuration UI built inside of the widget. Style. Implement widget for frame. Yeah. Oh yeah, there we are, widget for, and then there's a bunch of other ones as well. Interesting. Okay. Back to this. So, frame we're trying to create. Let's look, see if we can find the documentation for this frame thing. Right, let's have a look. A frame around some content, that's what I want. Including margin, colors, etc. Everything with a stroke is filled with fill color, blah, blah, blah. So we've got outer margin, stroke width, inner margin, content size. Okay, that's a nice visual example. Okay, fine. There's examples. It's good. No problems with the documentation so far. Frame. That seems curious. So you've got a show method, and then inside that you can add other things. So let's borrow this. go back to this and let's try and create a toolbar. None is deprecated. New instead. Fine. I don't need to fill it. And let's have the button to be the home. UI dot, and then how to create a button. Button. Home. We'll ignore the fact that we want buttons to do something. We're going to go open and new and close all. Here. And we're running into our first issue right now. And we've got hard-coded text in here and here and here. And really, we don't want that. We want to use internationalization. So we're going to try that. Let's see what happens. So we've got some buttons, but they're not laid out one after the other. Down here, there's some things that are laid out one after the other. So let's see if we can find them and see how that works. So the widget gallery. Widget gallery. Interactive. I'm looking for a string. I suppose we can search for it like that. Oh, there's my widget gallery. So we found the widget gallery. Where was that living? This was in the demo lib. Okay, that seems to be where these are. So we need to sort of bookmark all these. Fine. So this goes UI horizontal. Okay, let's try that then. So you get a closure which gives you a UI, and then inside which you can probably do some stuff. Yeah, it's fine to create a button. I don't care about whether the buttons are clickable at the moment. But we've got home, new, open, new, close all. So you know we've got buttons. It'll do for now. Okay. I guess what's next? We're going to need some tabs. We're going to need some tabs. Let's just... Okay, we found that out. Fine, so we've got some toolbar buttons. And our toolbar buttons are supposed to do stuff. Toolbar. Those are the buttons. We've got the close all one as well, but you know. Ideally, we want the language drop down as well. Let's do the I18N stuff and see where that goes and takes us before we go into tabs and all the rest of it. So there is a crate. There is a crate called EGUI. No. Okay, I don't know whether it's been published or not. That's okay. That's interesting. No, it's not been published. Why is the author not published this? Damn it. Well, I have a local checkout of this thing. Let's check the crate name. I guess the name of this is... Yeah, that. I suppose we have to go... And then, is it that? Am I getting my syntax right for this? TOML files, anybody? How's it supposed to work again? I forget. Yeah, no, I did it right. Why is it? Oh, wait. Oh, sorry. It's grayed out because it's not been used yet. So we need to know how to use it. Let's look at one of the examples for it. So we're going to try using Fluent. And yeah. And the way it's supposed to work is that you need to initialize some languages. So let's just blatantly borrow some of this code. Which I suppose is in our main file. Now, do we want to put this in? Yeah, I suppose so. Oops. Let's go mod I18n. And let's paste it in there, and then at least it's namespaced. Let's not deal with any other languages to start with. Thus, we've already got an assets folder, so I'm guessing this is up one level, then assets, and then languages, and then whatever. So we'll grab this file. Now I had translations, but I'm just going to go with languages. I mean, it is translations really, isn't it? We're not loading a language, we're loading a translation file. I'm going to paste that in there. But, yeah. Yeah. Fine. Sure. So we need to call this init method. Let's have a look. There's this logger in it, and there's this web logger, and then we've got languages. Oh, that's going to be fun. I don't really care about this WASM stuff at the moment, but I don't want to delete it just yet either. Yeah, we're just going to ignore the WASM build for the moment. So we're going to go I18 and init. I suppose this is going to be great. No. What is... Okay, so we add that to lib, right? Oh, it's not public. Right. It's fine. And this init method doesn't return anything, so I don't know quite why it's got that on there. I don't know why our ID is doing that. And this isn't public at the moment, so it needs to be. Fine. So initialize some I18N. Let's go back to the example. And then it does its usual stuff. And then at some point it creates some stuff that's internationalized. So it uses this tr macro like this. And this is an example with arguments by the looks of it, which is good. Okay. What happens if you wanted to display something that's got no arguments? Okay. So we just use tr macro instead. Fine. We kind of want to translate this as well. But let's come back to that later. So let's try it here. I guess. And we'll continue with the other ones. And new in the open. I think it should be the other way around. Right. So then we need translations for these. Oh dear. It's not very exciting, this bit, but it's part of the learning process. Just go with it. And we've got some menu stuff here to deal with as well, so we'll just try that for the toolbar and see what happens. They worked. Let's just change one to make sure it works by putting some exclamation marks in the middle of it. It definitely is working. So that's good. There is some internationalization support that works. Great. Okay, let's... I don't actually need this, but let's just go with it. And see if we run into issues anywhere else. It's not a toolbar button. Menu. What is this? Menu what? I mean, it is a menu, but the whole thing at the top's a menu, and then the individual things on it, I'm not sure exactly what they're called. menu thing. Let's just say top level, for want of something better. And then we go menu, file, quit. Because that's where it appears on the menu. But if you moved quit somewhere else, would that be a good idea? Menu item. Yeah, that's probably okay. So we'll add those. Sure. Top level file. Oh, yeah, well, it does help if you use the tr macro, doesn't it? Let's see if we can use it where we think we should be able to use it. That does indeed seem to work. That's good. So, iframe template. Let's delete some things that we don't need. Yeah, okay. Okay, so add initial i18n support via EGUI i18n create. Sure. Now let's do a bit of cleanup. Now that we've had a look at some things. So we looked at the state, and we can refer back to it if we need some of the state again. There's nothing to do there. Everything's fine. It'll be interesting to see what happens now, because there will be a file which has got some state in it which now doesn't match what the app is now currently using. I'm kind of curious as to how you're supposed to handle adding new stuff to the state and then migrating from one version to the next. I guess you just handle it in the normal Serde manner, I suppose. So you would add what your hash map of like remaining fields, and then run a function to deserialize the old version and migrate it, I suppose. I don't know. Or do you do it as a preloading the app? So yeah, I'm not sure about that. I can see you can run into some problems. Because who owns that config, right? Does EGUI own it, or does your app own it? It feels like EGUI owns it, and therefore it should handle its own state, that kind of stuff, like its options and all that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm not sure about the state stuff yet. It'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Okay. Other things that we don't need. We've got a toolbar button. We've got a central panel. What happens if you have a central panel without anything in it at all? And I guess we don't need. I mean, what is this gate? Is this used anywhere? No. There. So that's our minimal thing that we've got so far. Okay. Fine. So let's go back to the requirements. Native look and feel type. Let's see how many of these requirements we're ticking already. Native look and feel title bar with native close, minimize and maximize buttons. Yes. Because not all GUI systems have that. MakerPad, for instance, has its own title bar, which, you want the system one, please. Don't mess me up with my windows. Fine. Resizable contents adjust to fit. I don't know yet. Maybe. I've got a home button. See, the first requirement, that we've got to try and do is this. It shows a home tab. And then we need a tab bar. Yeah, we need a tab bar. How are we going to create a tab bar? So I guess we need... Let's do a Google search to see whether there's a EGUI tabs. Oh, someone else has asked the same question. Uh-huh. 2 years ago it wasn't there. There's now a crate that offers tabs and docking. Okay, we can have a look at that. Funny. Some basic tabs could be added to make sense to EGUI, but I worry it will soon lead to feature requests. Scrolling a tabs when there are too many. Drag and drop to rearrange. Button to add more tabs. Yeah, this is exactly the kind of thing that I want, right? That's hilarious. 2024. Simple tab container that just resists all these features, which are better served by external libraries. Yeah, EGUI, GUI talk, tiles. EGUI tabs. In May. Alright, let's have a look at this. Hover and selected. They are indeed tabs. That one. Why has it got... Okay, let's have a quick look. Tabs new. You have to specify a number. Can this be dynamic? Okay, let's just try it. Let's just try it. EGUI tabs. Fine. Let's go. So, cargo. I'm trying to find my cargo file. Here he is. So, EGUI tabs. Is this another unpublished crate? That's interesting. Oh, it's an underscore. Now, what version of EGUI do you think this depends on? Does it depend on EGUI? So it might work. I'm not sure whether we have to bump this up. Cargo should do that. Yeah, it should be okay. Let's just grab this. And where do we want it? I suppose it goes in here. Let's just see where we get. Oh, show you. Wait, what? Is this because they're different versions? I bet it is. Let's now have a look at our dependencies. Yeah, we've got 2 versions of EGUI. Okay, so let's fix that by cloning the repo. And this is the same kind of issue I was running into with Iced as well. When you've got lots of things in external crates and then the main core has been updated, all the other crates that you're using lag behind. So you have to clone them, futz around with them, and then, yeah. So we're going to clone it. No, not like that, we're not. There we go. And then we're going to have to, open it up. In a new window. Then poke the TOML file. To use 0.31. And it pulls in EGUI extras. Curious. Okay. Yeah. Create new branch. I suppose. Oh. Does help if you go in the right direction, doesn't it? Right, there we go. We're probably going to now run into the same. Oh dear. Probably now going to run into the same problem with EGUI extras. Down the rabbit hole. Not that one. Not the Cushy one. Where are we? Oh no. So if we look at this and look at external libraries here, and then oops a daisy. And then check this. We've got EGUI extras. Yeah, you see. And then of course this is using this. Okay, it's updated it. Fine, we're okay now. Fine. So fortunately, EGUI extras has already been updated. That's good. At least we don't have to do that one as well. So now we can go back to our tab document example. Go back to the cargo file and specify the path to that. And then wait for cargo to sync. EGUI, oh, is it underscore tabs? No, it was tabs. Okay. Found a virtual manifest. Eh? What's a virtual manifest? Oh, because it's in a crate here, right? Fine. Is the name of that right? Yeah. So we've got dashes there and then underscores here. Okay. Right. So now this UI is the right version. Okay. Now that's running. Okay. So we've got tabs. Let's randomly change this so that we've got a vector and see if it is dynamic. Okay. Fine, we can go that way. Index is state the index. How do I get my tabs? Can we get the tabs in here? I don't really like the name text, but there we go. Let's go tabs, bracket, ind. Like, just index. Text, you know. Does this work? Yeah. It's true. So this, I don't know why. I don't know why this is an I32 here, because you're never going to have a negative tab index. I feel a pull request coming on to fix this nonsense. But anyway. Yeah. Not how I would have done it. Still, there we are. Oh, oops, not U32, U size. God. Duh. He doesn't even care about the unit anyway. Okay, so we're going to see if they're dynamic. We've got A, B, and C. Okay, and if we add... let's try and make it so that there's a button. Where are we going to put the state? Let's move the tabs into self, just for fun. Let's humour me here. Yeah. What is this? Okay, so we've got some tabs. Let's go, because here you can access self, right? Can't move it there though. Because, let's see what the error is. Not that error. Yes, that's okay. We want to clone the string. That's fine. I mean, I don't know whether you do want to clone the string, but... So we've still got tabs. So that's good. And it was also interesting that the tab still appeared just then, because they weren't in the state file. And I only added them here. Some magic happened there. Let's add a button. So I suppose what? UI.button. Test. Or add tab. On oh, it's this clicked thing, isn't it? I don't know how this is supposed to work. Oh, it doesn't take a closure. It's oh, if it is clicked. How do you do these? How do you do button things in this? I don't know. Do you just do it like this in this? Let's go self.tabs push new. Let's just see what happens. Indeed, it does work. So what I'm finding immediately using EGUI, and I used the word immediately there, that was interesting, is that because this is an immediate mode one, it's immediately simpler to get anything done initially. Long term, whether it's better or not is another matter entirely. Interesting. Because with the reactive frameworks, we had to flap about doing all kinds of things. So let's just refresh our memory with what we had to do to get tabs working in Cushy, because we had to write our own tab system. Let's just refresh our memory here. So we've got this widget, we've got this tab bar, right? And these are the hoops we had to jump through in a reactive system. And it was very similar in the other reactive systems. It's not a particular thing specific to Cushy. We had a nightmare of a time doing this in all the other ones as well. We had to create a tab bar. We had to create somewhere to store the tabs. We had to create widget lists. We had to create the keys to access the things in the slot map. And we had to create a content switcher, which switches the thing beneath it, which we've not got to yet, but you know, we're just talking about the buttons at the moment, I suppose. We had to track which one was active, and we had to use all these dynamic things to retain all this state. And then we had to create a bunch of code that says if the button's active tab changes, then futz around doing this, that, and the other. And this is all the code that we had to write to make tabs work. And we had to create our switcher that checked the active tab key to change the thing beneath it. And then closing tabs was a nightmare. And then creating the actual widget itself was a nightmare. And then creating the buttons was a nightmare. Yeah. So we had to write all this to get tabs going. And there was a lot of work. Yeah. Contrast and compare. Interesting. Right, how long are we going now? About 2 hours or so. Okay, so we've got dynamic tabs. We've got dynamic tabs already. Yeah. That's good. This is interesting. Interesting. Right, I'm going to take a break from all this and have a further poke around and see how I can progress this. If I can make some progress on the requirements, and then we'll do another stream probably tomorrow, I suppose, and we'll see how far we get. But I'll start working on the toolbar and the tab bar for now, and making it so that something appears underneath the tabs, like they add the home tab is the first thing we did. Yeah. We'll see where we get to. Yeah. So, progress. Because we need something underneath here which relates to the thing that you've got clicked. So we've got to do that. But yeah, okay. Progress. Let's do a quick commit. Hack up some dynamic tabs using what's the crate name? EGUI tabs crate. I'll update that later. Right. Okay, and we need a repo. We need to publish this code somewhere. So let's just quickly do that. Not that tab though. One of these ones. Where are we going to put this? Yeah. Should we put it in the MakerPnP repo? No, it doesn't make sense to put it there. I'll just put this in my own personal one for now. So yeah. Repositories, let's create a new one. Who knows where it is? There it is. What's the name of this directory? It was this. So we're going to call it that. Create a repo. Copy that. Oh yeah. Right, because that's that. Okay, we'll call it this. Main. Really? What? Okay, I'm a little bit weirded out by that. But okay. Okay, so we have our code in this repo. Right. Let me just paste the link to that in the chat. In the web example, use the get source code for that example. Quick Flash says, yeah, no, we've done that. Yeah, so we're going to leave that there for now. So made some progress. Didn't run into any blockers yet. That's good. Didn't have too many unanswered questions, and mostly things just worked. So that's quite positive. Let's see. We'll continue with this and see how far it goes, and then we'll make a decision as to whether we should carry on using Cushy or EGUI. Yeah. So don't forget to subscribe so that you can see how we progress with this. And just remember, folks, it's only software. How hard can it be? We'll find out on the next one. See ya.